It's Tuesday, June 24th, 2014. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Sportsmanship.
Games womanmanship.
Gender neutralmanship. Let's do this. So there's been a problem between me and Scott for a number of years.
What problem?
So
You make annoying noises?
when we got here, I got home to do the show, Scott was watching the biking anime and we're hanging out doing our thing. Scott's really wondering what I'm about to bring up and then what this conversation is
I
going
don't
to be
know what
about.
this could possibly be.
And then I had a snack before the show, as I want to do.
I know what you're talking about now.
So, Scott, what is wrong with eating croutons, or as I like to call them, advanced crackers?
Would you take ketchup and just like fucking drink it?
Well, that's a condiment.
And a crouton is a condiment.
A crouton
for
is not
salad.
a condiment. You do not shake croutons out of a dispenser on your table. Yeah, that
They
condiment
come
is
in a
something.
bag or a container and you shake them onto salads. You do not. Have you ever seen any restaurant in the world just serve croutons to eat straight up?
Yes, they're in the buffet all the time.
The salad bar. They're meant to put on the salad.
Who are you to say what they're meant to be done? They're there, right next to other things.
I'm just glad I don't have to come up with any more reasons not to do this because everyone listening already is on my side.
So I ask all of you out there, if you believe in anything that is good or holy, and you enjoy actual food, go into your kitchen, go find your thing of croutons, and just eat one like it's a cracker. And realize that there is nothing stopping you from doing that anytime you want.
Yeah, your sense of self-worth. Your pride as a human being.
So speaking
the
of...
same pride that you would lose if you drank ketchup is the same pride you lose when you eat a crouton.
So speaking of pride in being a human being, it is the Steam summer sale, and something amazing happened. I no longer care about Steam sales.
Yeah, I have all these games. It's not video game season right now. There's no game
I'm playing a lot of video games. My problem is
I'm playing basically no video games.
Yeah, you're not playing any board games either.
There's nothing on the Steam sale that I really want or urgently need to play right now. I mean, that Brothers game, okay, it's some artsy thing. It's probably
is a good interactive amusement and experience. I'm interested in.
It looks like an entertaining software for $3. Doesn't look like a game, but that doesn't bother me.
So my trouble is not that I don't.
It'll be on sale again. It's not going anywhere.
My problem
I don't need to get it right now.
In any fashion that I do not want to buy these games. My problem is that 4 times so far this Steam summer sale, 4, I saw a game and thought, wow, I would definitely play that game for that price. I clicked on it with the intention of purchasing it, and instead of taking me to the shopping cart, it took me to a screen that said in green, "You already own name of game that you just clicked on. Play now." And in every case, I would go, "What? Really?" And I'd go to my library, and sure enough, there it is. It's even installed.
I thought FTL, the expansion you had to buy. Nope. Because I bought regular... Actually, I kickstarted FTL a zillion years ago. I have all the FTL. I didn't have to buy anything. I went to click on the FTL expansion thing. It's like, you already have FTL. I'm like, oh, alrighty then.
Yeah. So I've been playing a lot of FTL lately.
I've played zero FTL lately.
I've had a lot of flying to do lately. Advanced mode makes that game... You could play that game for the next 10 years and never get tired of it.
But I didn't even play more than
sorry
like...
you suck at FTL.
It's not that I suck. I just have no interest in it. It's like,
Scott,
I beat it, I'm done.
You beat it on, like, beginner mode.
Yeah, what interest do I have in playing it with a different ship or on a harder mode? None.
The game's completely different in those modes.
I have no interest in that.
I don't understand why. The game is engaging and
I've
complex.
already beaten it and seen the end. What more is there?
Yeah, so if you beat Mega Man 2 on baby mode, then you've beaten it 100%?
Mega Man 2 doesn't have baby mode.
Yeah, it does. You're Japanese only?
Of course.
So if someone played Mega Man 2
Rockman 2
on easy mode,
then they're not a person. They say they've lost the same pride that they would lose if they ate a crouton or drank ketchup.
Oh, I see how it is.
Exactly.
Seriously, Scott's really bad at FTL. I've watched him play. It's not pretty to watch.
What do you mean? You wait for your shit to recharge?
Yeah, so how come you can't beat it on normal? I can beat it on normal almost every time I play.
Because I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Let's play some Netrunner.
So Actually, I should be playing some Netrunner soon because I saw that some other friends of ours, Conrad, was playing some Netrunner recently.
Why is he not coming to play Netrunner with us, or at least at the NYU Game Center near him?
I think he just learned how to play and seemed to really like it. But
why wasn't he listening to me tell him to play it like a zillion
so
years
something
ago?
that appeared on the Steam Summer Sale just now that I think is interesting is Murdered Soul Suspect, which is one of two.
I've never heard of this ever.
Really?
What is
so
this?
It is one of two You're a Ghost Detective games.
What's
So
the other Ghost Detective game?
I don't remember, but I kept confusing
is
them.
it Ghost Trick, which is really good, and is a DS game? Where you
No, these are both PC games.
Okay.
But this game, so the tagline on the game in all caps is "The hardest murder to solve is your own,"
Dun dun dun.
which I think is objectively true.
Do you know you're a ghost?
You basically are surprised that there is an afterlife after you were murdered, and you try to solve your murder.
But you're a ghost who walks around the real world.
Yes, you walk around in
But
the real world.
time is still flowing, so you're not. You're still at. You basically you're dead, and then there you are looking at your corpse,
Yep.
and time keeps moving on along
And
at
you
1
go
second
back
per
in
second.
time. You basically go around like trying to figure out what happened, figure out who murdered you and why, and there's this plot. It has the popular user-defined tags of spooky, detective, supernatural, mystery. I was doing I saw the Square Enix panel about this at PAX because I was running that room at the time. And I might have related this anecdote to you earlier, but just to reiterate, the first or second question that came out of the audience was,
Oh, that's why you know about this.
yes, one of the greatest questions anyone has ever asked at a panel at a game convention ever. And the question was, so is this a game? Could I, not solve my own murder? Could I fail to figure out who murdered me? And the people on the panel didn't answer for a little while. And then their slow, halting answer basically was summarized to, no, you cannot fail to solve your murder. This is not a game.
It's an entertainment software.
Yes, or at best, it might be an ideo game. It might be a series of interesting decisions
Anyway,
that all lead to the same
it's an
basic
adventure
outcome.
game. It's basically Monkey Island.
So it's interesting that this game already, release date June 3rd, 2014, so less than a month ago, is 33% off.
That's that's not a big sale. It's still $33.
Yeah, but this is one of those AAA Square Enix games.
The South Park game, which I actually kind of want to play,
I really want to play that.
got discounted, but it's still $40. So yeah.
The thing is, the reason I want to play
It's also Ubisoft. Fuck you, Ubisoft.
the
Fuck
only
you.
reason I want to play the South Park game is because it's basically an episode of South Park.
That's exactly the only reason I want to play it as well. It's been a South Park drought. Usually the South Park in the fall and then South Park in the spring. There was no spring South Park
I
this
don't
year.
even know how seasons work for TV
There is no
anymore.
spring South Park this year.
Well,
Fuck
you know how I knew the last season of South Park
Come on,
started?
guys. It only takes you 24 hours to make a goddamn episode.
Yeah,
crank some out.
Why do I not get 7 episodes a week? I mean, you guys could clearly do it.
Seriously.
You know what? If they did
You
that,
brag about it.
I imagine 6 episodes would come out and then nothing. Eventually, the police would be called. They'd go to the studio and everyone would be dead.
Actual crab people would emerge.
Ooh, the Metacritic score on this game is 62. As far as I'm concerned, I guess anything under 100 means the game is garbage. I don't know.
I don't care about scores.
Neither do I. But I just
I
find
don't
all
even know
of
what
this
that
interesting.
means.
The point of all that is that I'm somehow no longer excited about the Steam summer sales because I already bought all the games I wanted to buy in the last Steam sale, and I appear to already own almost every game that's under $8.
I have a desire to go biking. I don't have a desire to play video games. So if you try to sell me video games, that's like trying to sell food to a guy who just finished dinner and dessert and second dessert.
Yep. Now, maybe because
Even
we're
if
adults,
it's free foie gras, it's like, well, I would really love free foie gras. That's really
but I
amazing
just
quality
finished 2 milkshakes.
at a really great price. But there is literally no way I could eat anything, not even if it's a wafer thin.
But I never forget, I tried to buy games that I already own 4 times so far.
Yep. I mean,
And here's the worst thing. It's not like I bought the games and never installed them. 2 of them, not only had I installed, but I had logged at least an hour or 2 in them.
okay, so Skyrim, they were selling the complete Skyrim, right? Somehow I got the incomplete Skyrim. I think someone bought it for me. Thank you. I played it a whole bunch, and it was pretty good. Just same as the Oblivion, which I enjoyed and beat. And I played it. I got really far. I found a lot of towns and did a lot of stuff and did a bunch of quests and was going on my way to Fuzuro Dawn shit and whatever, right? And then
How many did you have? Foos at least?
Yeah, I had.
Okay.
I think I had more than that.
Did you have Ro?
I might have had the whole thing. I don't remember.
So you got Dawn as well.
I don't know.
Did you find Sailor Jupiter?
I killed a bunch of dragons.
Yeah.
The
dragons are really sadly easy to kill in that game.
Yeah, well, not early on, but yeah, once you
Yeah,
get...
but like, it's really disappointing when it's like, oh, there's a dragon, I'll just run backwards shooting my arrows at it, and then it'll
I
inexplicably...
never used arrows like a sissy.
Oh, all right, then it'll inexplicably keep landing near me and let me hit it.
Yes.
Why doesn't the dragon just constantly hover over me, firing flame until I die? Why does it ever land?
It is not wise. Anyway, so, I had a bunch of good times for a few days, and then I just stopped. And I never loaded it again. It's still installed. So why would I pay to add all the DLC shit to it that I haven't even thought or had any desire to turn on the regular one?
The lesson I have learned is much more horrifying. Because when I bought Fallout 3, I got gypped because I should have just waited for the Ultimate Edition to
I didn't
come
know
out.
there was going to be Ultimate shit.
Yes, now I've learned every game like that will have an Ultimate shit that'll be way better than the original game.
Well,
just wait.
I wouldn't buy Skyrim until it was the Ultimate shit. I mean, if I didn't have it at all, I probably would have bought it right now.
Fallout New Vegas is under $7 right now.
Yeah, I have the Ultimate of that, and I played it for like 5 minutes. Not Fallout 3 level of quality.
Yeah. It did the part, if you cared about the fighting tactical kind of stuff, it did that better. But most of what I actually expect to like about Fallout games is either the emergent behavior that doesn't really happen anymore, or just walking around the crazy post-apocalyptic landscape, which needs to have a bunch of stuff, not just a bunch of empty buildings I can't walk into.
Yeah, well, Fallout New Vegas is a desert.
I know.
I didn't even get to Vegas because it was so bleh in the
You didn't even get to Vegas.
Nope.
You didn't even beat the mothership on FTL.
I did.
In baby mode.
I don't care what mode it is.
Really? You don't care at all? Well, then I've beaten Mega Man 2 a bunch of times.
Are you telling me you can't beat Mega Man 2 on non-baby mode? Is that what you were saying?
You're telling me you can't beat FTL on non-baby mode?
Are you telling me you eat croutons and drink ketchup?
I eat croutons. I tell you what, you want to have a race? If you beat FTL on normal mode before I beat Mega Man 2 on normal mode, I'll eat a hat.
A tiny chocolate
I'll
hat?
eat my hat. So, in other gaming news, I don't know if you have a gaming news.
I do.
Okay, because the only thing I say is the sports ball player bit another sports ball player, and that's a controversy.
All right, well, let's talk about this gaming news just quickly, right? So, there's a Sonic the Hedgehog 2 HD fan project. So, some fans want to remake Sonic 2, the best Sonic.
You mean some fans want to get sued?
In HD. Right,
in
and
HD.
So that's the news, right? So I would play this actually because I really like Sonic 2. It's the best of all the Sonics.
It's the only good one. I'm not going to be...
Yeah, some of the other ones are not bad, but is vastly superior to the other
If you play
ones.
Sonic 2, most of them are not worth playing.
Sure, so a direct HD remake where it's the exact same game, only looks a lot better, that would be really good. It would be like Bionic Commando Rearmed. I would be all about playing
Except that was not a direct remake. That was like a spiritual remake that actually changed a bunch of things for the better.
Right, but anyway...
Not like that Ducktales game that had all the bullshit
This
brought
would be
along.
a good thing if fans made it, but I've noticed in my long gaming life that if you look around, when fans try to do things like translation projects or hacks and mods, gaming companies don't seem to care. That mother translations are still out there, right? Final Fantasy translations are out there. Game companies don't try to stop you if you do that.
I got a C&D about a Final Fantasy V ROM translation that I had hanging around back in the GeoCities days.
But when you try to do this, remember the people trying to make Chrono Trigger 3D?
Yep.
You get shut the fuck down.
Yep.
But these people abandoned this project, but now they are picking it back up. Start the clock to see how quickly it gets shut down. But Sega, you're looking to not suck and make a Sonic game that people actually want to play. Why don't you just do this for the fans instead of having fans do it themselves?
But you have to do it right. That DuckTales game looked like it was going to be the greatest. It was going to be Bionic Commando Rearmed with ducks.
Nope.
But instead, it was just like they were faithful to the wrong parts of the DuckTales game.
Yep.
Kind of like how modern MOBAs are faithful to the wrong parts of Dota.
That's why actually, right, it's weird because in that Bionic Commando Rearmed, you had people who A, were clearly huge fans of Bionic Commando, but B, also had game development skills.
Yeah, but C, remember, we do a lot of panels.
You need to get both things together. Good gaming knowledge and skills plus also being a fan, but not being a fanboy.
I was looking at our list of panels,
And it's a rare conflagration.
I was trying to figure out like what panel I want to do at PAX Aus if you don't go. Like, which one would I be happy to do on my own?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'll do Losing Should Be Fun, but I remembered that we did that other panel years ago that we didn't get video of because we were in a hurry to get to the Omegathon, called Egregiously Unrealized Potential. And in that panel, we talked at length about Bionic Commando Rearmed, and remember, that game was not the main game. That was just a promotional game to promote the real Bionic Commando
that no one gave a fuck about.
That sold so poorly that Bionic Commando Rearmed got a sequel, and the new Bionic Commando is dead. So that's a topic, being faithful to the right parts.
Yeah.
But anyway, if anyone has video of that egregiously unrealized potential panel we did at a PAX many years ago, let me know. I would like to put some form of that on YouTube if I could.
Anyway, so let's talk about the biting.
So to me, it's not news that a soccer player bit another soccer player. That's just like ridiculous.
See, the thing there, it surprised me a little bit. I mean, things like this have happened before, headbutts and bites, right?
Yep.
But they're not too common. It's that someone was like, ow, and pretending to be it, but they weren't pretending. They actually got injured by someone.
Yeah.
That's the more shocking part of it.
Like, you see that HD zoomed in photo, and there's a fucking bite mark there.
Also, some guy bet a bunch of money. People were betting 175 to 1 odds that this guy would bite someone in the World Cup because he had bitten people twice before.
Yes, that's what amazes me. This
people
motherfucker
made that bet and won.
I would have bet money on that if I knew I could bet on that.
Yeah, well, you can in every other country except the United States.
Mike Tyson bit a guy once. This guy bit 2 people.
Well, we don't know who he bit outside the boxing ring.
Well, this guy, in the context of soccer, bit multiple people, was punished for it, and yet was allowed to continue playing. I imagine if a hockey player bit another hockey player, they would never play in the NHL again.
Maybe.
There's
it wouldn't
rules
be for
about
a long
that.
time.
You take your gloves off, you punch each other, then you both go sit in the box. If someone bit, I think there'd just be a lawsuit, like criminal charges outside of the game. So soccer's weird and messed up, and I just find this hilarious. But anyway, things of the day. Got a thing of the day? The most interesting thing you've seen in the last day?
I do, but I forgot what it was. So
really?
Yes.
Really,
so
old man?
Do your thing of the day.
Old man Scott?
Yes.
Old man Scott forgot his
because
thing of the
I
day?
didn't keep the link open. Oh, I remembered what it was.
Okay.
So, our friends over at Super Art Fight.
They're some of the best people.
The
Super
best
Art
people.
Fight is one of the best
Maybe
things.
you should come see them at Kineticon, where in the final round there's going to be a mystery art fighter. And I don't know who it is, and I really want to know.
If I didn't know the ideal art fighter, if I could think of anyone in the world to get in there, there's only 2 people. I would either want to get Banksy.
Oh my God.
Or I would want to get Mike Krahulik.
I would also like to see
Katie Cook could probably do a pretty good job.
I don't know if she's really fast.
I think she could be.
She has art skills. She could definitely do it.
Because based on her style, I think she could pull it off. Like, I think she could draw quick enough in the art fight style to make it happen. There's the undefeated Yuko Ota.
I don't know. Is she going to Kineticon? She didn't go last year.
I don't know. Don't think she's on any of the panels I put together.
Well, Sergio Aragones is also one of my number 1 people to be in the art fight.
Yeah. I don't know. Banksy.
There are plenty of people who'd be amazing in art fight.
Actually, Banksy would be a good guest of Kineticon.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, you never know. That's the kind of weird thing. I'll go for it.
Anyway, so Super Art Fight is doing much more interneting. They got a podcast going on. They got all kinds of stuff, right? So then they have another thing on YouTube, on their YouTube channel, Super Art Stream. And in Super Art Stream number 10 appears another artist who would be excellent at Super Art Fighting, Casey Green.
Oh, der Arschsetzer.
So you should watch Super Art Stream number 10. It only has 64 views. Seriously, what the fuck? That should be like, it should say 301 plus right now because they can't count the views.
Yeah,
so,
guys. My video of like Twilight Sparkle getting Kanye'd has more views than that.
I mean, in the thumbnail for the stream, which I guess they did via Google Hangout, there is a drawing he has done of a cross between the Goodyear blimp and a narwhal. The Naryear. The Naryear blimp. And that's just the thumbnail. There's an hour and 14 minutes of this.
In the meta moment, the book club book is... Oh, I guess you do my thing of the day.
Do you have a thing of the day, or are you an old man who can't remember?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You ate too many croutons.
Croutons.
You can only remember
croutons.
Croutons. You can only remember the 80s because you're so old. Schwarzenegger things of the day. Thing of the 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago.
This is not a supercut in the traditional sense. This is one of those things. Basically, they took extended clips from Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, which are great already, and they've added farts, but not in the way most people do. Most people just add farts.
When
like,
someone's
over the
making
audio.
a funny face that looks like they would be farting, but they're not actually farting.
These are added to moments where there is the combination of the face and the movement and the reaction of other people to something else that make them perfect. And the first one is Conan, and he's sitting there, and then he farts, and then the other guy kind of looks at him like, huh? And then he says something to the effect of, have you ever felt wind like this? Like, it's that level of craft. The book club book is A Canticle for Leibowitz, the precursor to all the other post-apocalyptic fiction, sci-fi, pretty much ever.
Where everyone's trapped, where the remaining human society is sealed in some way.
I read the whole thing. It's worth reading.
I read like a few chapters. I'm going to finish it sooner.
However, the only thing I will say is that it reads the way your typical, like, sophomore, junior year, like, the book you have to read for a class and do analysis of it. It's quite rambly, and having read more than Scott, though Scott agrees with me from the beginning, I think, you got to know a decent amount about both Jews and Catholicism, or this book makes no fucking sense. Like, this is some inside baseball on Judaism and Catholicism. And it only gets more inside baseball as time goes on. You've also got to know a little bit about actual nuclear doctrine, like nuclear war, as it was portrayed in the 50s and 60s. Like, the term counter value, you need to understand what that actually means.
All right. Any other meta things? You should go and find us all over the internet and all the places that we exist.
Yes, we have uploaded, to highlight some of them, we have uploaded 2 significant videos recently. Our lecture from PAX East this most recent year. Why no one will game with you. A panel that, to be perfectly honest, might be a little too real.
Too real.
You might feel a little uncomfortable watching that one. 2, we have another episode of Geeknights Presents Shoujo Kakame Utena. We are analyzing every fucking episode.
We're almost
of that
done
show.
with the first third of the show.
Yes, almost.
The first arc. Got 2 arcs left.
It's up. This episode is significantly longer than the actual
How long
episode.
did that take us? A year? 2 years?
Took us about a year to do.
So,
third.
so we'll be done in 2016, 2017.
Give or take. And we are going to... Oh, also, Scott has uploaded videos of the most recent Netrunner tournament he attended in Boston.
The Cambridge Regionals. Big time.
Yeah,
Big time
did you win?
net running. No.
What the fuck?
But New York won. Take that everywhere else.
Your jersey made it past the finish line?
Exactly. Our jersey made it over the line.
Yeah.
And in fact, of the final 16 cut, like 25% were people wearing our jersey.
Damn straight.
So.
And July 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. That's right. 4 days, motherfuckers. Kineticon.
Oh, we should have said something about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Kineticon is one of the better conventions out there, but it's an everything convention. We run the panels and workshops department. We've been doing this for many years. This con is off the fucking hook, and you should be there. And also, we are doing a bunch of panels at it. So, according to Merriam-Webster's Sportsmanship
whatever.
is, quote, fair play, respect for opponents, and polite behavior by someone who is competing in a sport or other competition. Conduct, as in fairness, respect for one's opponent, and graciousness in winning or losing, becoming to one participating in a sport. He's a great player who's also admired for his sportsmanship. Rhymes with sportsmanship, airmanship, athwartship.
What the fuck is that? That's the only positive thing that's come out of you reading that dictionary entry.
Being across the ship from side to side. So, athwartship and longitudinal frame. What? So, being across ship. So, I guess if I'm on a side of the ship,
The port
like,
side, and I'm
yeah,
starboard.
then we are athwartship. Athwartship. Athwartship.
When I'm in the passenger seat and you're in
Athwartship.
the driver's seat, we were a thwart car.
I guess that's your word of the day. So yeah, we're thinking about sportsmanship because, frankly,
The guy biting the guy.
the guy biting the guy,
And
and Scott's been attending tournaments of things recently.
I have, Netrunner tournaments mostly. But yeah, sportsmanship comes up very often at Netrunner tournaments.
And it's entirely distinct from separate issues like cheating. Because the difference
We've
between...
done shows on cheating.
We have. The difference between sportsmanship and cheating is that sportsmanship is the unwritten, unspoken rules of the game.
Well, it's not necessarily rules of the game. It's just rules. It's just like conducting yourself within. It's like rules of society, right? There's nothing to do with the game. It's just when you're playing a game, there are certain rules of society and conduct that change and only apply while you are playing in a seriously competitive game or not seriously competitive game.
For example, in my day-to-day life, if Scott crosses me in some way, I can say, "Fuck you, you motherfucker," and flip him off, and that's totally acceptable. But if I did that at like a Settlers tournament at PAX, I would probably at least be frowned at, if not booted from the tournament by the people running it.
Yeah, it's like if there's a bunch of pieces of wood sitting on a table and I scoop them all into a box nicely, that's perfectly acceptable behavior. But if we're in the middle of a game and those are the pieces of the game and the game has not ended yet,
Well, that's cheating, actually. That's not sportsmanship, that's cheating.
well, it's
You made a whole bunch of illegal moves. You made like 8,000 illegal moves.
I'm just saying. There is certain conduct, right? For everyday life, there are rules of conduct that are not necessarily laws or written rules or things that you must do. They're just, societal things where if you do them, people will really hate you and you'll be a jerk and an asshole. And during a game, any kind of game, more rules apply than usual, or different rules apply compared to usual.
There's another fine point there that sportsmanship stuff is there's usually no defined objective line. There's almost no way to objectively say this is the line between just being a dick and unsportsmanlike.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like you can't write a rule like no trash talk because a lot of trash talk is perfectly okay and is very sportsmanlike. In fact, it would be unsportsmanlike to not trash talk at all in some cases. But
Though at the same
certain
time,
trash talk goes over the line. When does it go over the line? That's completely subjective.
well, of course, though, then again, there's the gray area between these two where unsportsmanlike conduct is an offense of which one can be punished in some fashion, or for which one can be punished in some fashion.
In some sports, there are
like
rules.
in American football. If I spike the ball in an inappropriate manner, and there's definitions of what is and is not an inappropriate spike or celebration, I could get in trouble.
It's 3 humps.
Like there's some what are the exact rules about celebration? Like you can celebrate in some way.
Okay,
but
so
you can't point at the crowd, right?
You cannot have a group celebration, right?
Yep.
You need to celebrate on your own. You cannot use a prop in the celebration.
And the ball counts as a
right?
prop.
You cannot taunt the other team, right? So you can't point at the guy, if you pushed the guy over and ran in for a touchdown, while you're celebrating, you can't point and laugh at that guy.
Yep.
Right? Those are just some of the rules. Pretty much you celebrate on your own. You can do generic things like saying, the Lambo Leap is grandfathered in. That's pretty much it. I mean,
Yep.
I'm sure there's more details than that, but
is that's almost like I said, this is this gray area where that's where a game has rules describing what is and is not sportsmanlike. I don't think that actually counts as sportsmanship because once the game has rules about it, that's just the rules of the game.
Well, in the Netrunner tournament rules, right? And I think the same goes for pretty much every game that has official tournament rules that you're going to play in a game store, Magic, Settlers, etc. There's a rule that says the judge can, punish you for unsportsmanlike behaviors, right?
Yep.
And that's really all it says. It's like one sentence, and it's like, if someone's being unsportsmanlike, the judge can kick them out or do whatever they got to do.
Which can be problematic if people have different definitions of acceptable behavior.
Yep.
And it's increasing. It's especially
pretty much-
problematic
so-
at lower levels of professionalism.
So what usually ends up happening is everyone has to be on their, your best. You have to lean towards your better behavior because you don't know this judge if you're just going to some random store in Cambridge.
Yep.
Where the judges were actually great, by the way.
Of course, it's interesting because we shouldn't necessarily, ideally, you shouldn't need to explain to people, like, yo, dog, you shouldn't whip your dick out every time you score a point in Netrunner. That would be a great celebration.
Oh, okay, so here's an example of something that actually happened recently, right?
Ooh.
So, and the Team Covenant is like a big-time store out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? And they do a lot of Netrunner there, as well as Game of Thrones and other Fantasy Flight games. And they have a big internet presence, in terms of, like, they stream all their stuff on Twitch and all kinds of, right? They make lots of videos on YouTube. They're really popular. So, their Netrunner regional tournament at their store was streaming live, and I'm watching it. And it gets to the elimination rounds, and this dude comes, and he has a lot of playmats because he played in a lot of tournaments. If I would have kept all the playmats from the tournaments I went to, I'd have like 5 or 6, right? But I only have 1 because I got rid of all the other ones because what do I want all these fucking playmats for? They're all so ugly. But he had a lot of playmats. So he sits down, and he puts down the first playmat. He puts down another playmat directly on top of it. And then another one. And then another one. And he puts every playmat he owns into like an inch-thick stack.
That's cool.
And then he starts playing, right? So everyone in the stream is like, death to Matman, fuck you, right? Because it's kind of being an asshole move. Now, unbeknownst to us, that was like an inside joke for those people. Like, they knew the deal. But to us, spectators, not knowing them, that looked like unsportsmanlike conduct to us. But he said, as soon as he sat down, before he did it, we heard him say it on the stream, I asked the judges, and they said this isn't unsportsmanlike conduct. It's just being a douchebag, so I'm going to do it. And he starts lining up the playmats, right? So that's the kind of example of something that actually happened in real life.
So there's an
You
example
be the judge
here.
yourself.
I think that's perfectly acceptable behavior.
I agree with the judge. That is not unsportsmanlike conduct, but it is douchebag move. I would not do that move. And I would look down upon the person who did that move. And that guy lost, so he got what he deserved.
So in some high school sports, especially in the more the academic sports, like the quiz bowls and the science Olympiads and all those kinds of things.
Talk about the game that you play.
No, I saw this in some of the non-football sports as well. It was, you could basically get in trouble if you beat the other team too badly at the high school level.
I see that discussion a lot on real sports, like TV and shit, like sports commentators. Like if some high school team beats another high school team in basketball like 100-2, they'll be like, what happened here? This is wrong, right? Or even in pro sports, it's like, if a football team is like winning by 20 and they just keep trying to score touchdowns, they'll be like, oh, they're running up the score. That's bullshit. Don't do that, right?
Yep.
And for the high school situation or the kid situation, I think the problem was who even scheduled this game between really good team and really outmatched team?
Well, usually it's just because one town, just 1 year, is a bunch of really weak kids.
Yeah.
What do you do about that?
B, why didn't they just forfeit or whatever, right? Why did they let that game go on, right? It's like, that shouldn't happen.
Well, the
but
difference is
in pro sports, it's like, okay, this is an NFL football team. The score is going to be what the score is going to be.
I think college applies in the same way. Like watching Newman lose a game 24-0 in hockey is one of those wonderful things you can see in the world.
And World Cup, which is, topical, right? In the group rounds, at least, they actively reward you for running up the score because the score differential matters. So you better run up the score. Otherwise, what are you doing?
Yep. Well, I guess there's actually a pretty clear way to say this. What is the intent of the match in this case? For little kids and like elementary schools, the intent is for a bunch of kids to have fun and play the game. The actual results...
No, the intent is not for the kids to have fun. The intent is for the parents to have fun, taking photos of the kids going, "Aw."
Well, I think the difference is it between...
And to feel like they're good parents.
Between elementary schools or elementary school teams, or is it the Little League that's separate from the schools?
Yep.
For the Little League, that's mostly for the parents. But for the schools, it's just part of the educational process. But I feel like in almost all cases, it is never really fair to punish teams for that kind of behavior, because that's kind of the behavior I would expect someone to put up against me. Like, I'd almost feel worse if someone could trivially score against me and after they'd beaten me by a whole much, just stopped, like just obviously stopped trying.
Well, that's almost it depends on how they do it, right? Like if you're playing basketball, someone who just gets a basket, right, runs to the other end of the court, steals the ball, scores a basket, and repeats, right? That's really frustrating.
But
imagine if the guy has the ball and he doesn't shoot and score, he just keeps it away. Just keeps it away from you. You can't get it from him. He just keeps it away. And just running out the clock, keeping it away. And then when the clock runs out, he like throws it out of bounds. You go get it. He steals it and then keeps it away until the shot clock runs out again.
Is that more or less sportsmanlike than just shooting it?
It depends on the manner in which he keeps it away, right?
But now are you obligated to fake like you're trying but fail for the entire rest of a one-sided match?
I think, this is why in Little League they have the mercy rule.
Yep. So it mostly comes down to the organizers of an event deciding what the goal of that event is and probably what the marketing around that event will be. Like they don't want, a lot of online type games and especially like the PC competitive gaming circuits and the fighting game competitive circuits, they have some image problems with people who aren't inside their little communities.
Well, look at Hearthstone. Hearthstone, for all its problems of, money, right, winning and collectible shit, they solved all these problems. You just can't communicate with the person other than like these 6 or 8 built-in things you can say, which are like, well played, threaten.
So already every time the other player fucks up, well played.
Yep.
I mean,
but that's all you can say. You can only use those pre-built-in messages.
Would you consider it unsportsmanlike if I sent that message after every move the other player made for the entire match?
If you do that, there's a button. They can just mute, and they see nothing that you say. You can push those buttons as much as you want. They'll never see the message.
Nah. Do I know they muted me?
No.
Oh.
So pretty much, it's like unsportsmanlike conduct can't happen. The only thing you can do that's unsportsmanlike is basically like if you have the match in hand, like you can just win anytime you want. Like this turn, you could just win. Instead of just winning, you just drag it out. Like you just let him go for another turn, right? And let them try to do something.
I do that pretty much all the time when I'm playing Hiroshima Hex while I'm hooping.
That's like the only thing that you can do in Hearthstone that's unsportsmanlike.
Nah. So what about like?
And if you're against a serious opponent who is actually competitive with you, you can't afford to do that.
So our friend Shea, I recall, in Dominion, her primary strategy seemed to be to come up with a combo that would both win the game and cause some sort of ridiculous near infinite loop to occur just to rub it in.
Mm-hmm.
Is that unsportsmanlike?
I mean, that's how you play Dominion. It's optimal play, right? But I mean, let's say, is it unsportsmanlike to just be better than your opponent, right? So let's say, it's like you're Michael Jordan and you get into a basketball game against some other team and they're just not Michael Jordan and you win easily.
Yep.
Without much effort.
Was that a failure of matchmaking? A failure of the rules of the game?
If me and Rim play Bionic Commando.
If we play Nidhogg.
Is it just unsportsmanlike for us to play in the first place?
Yep.
I mean, is Rim just supposed to not Commando?
Yeah, well, like you, when we play Street Fighter, you're like, fine, only light jabs I will use, and I still lose.
Jab only.
Light jab only. You're just in the corners.
Now, I'm handicapping myself and then still winning. Is that unsportsmanlike to insult you, or is that balancing?
I remember I finally beat you when you were like, fine, only jabs, and I will never jump. And then I beat you. Barely. Really what it comes down to in that front is if you're playing a game with someone where there is no obvious and easy way to deal with your extreme skill disparity, you just shouldn't play games with that type of person or that person.
Or that game.
Yes.
Right.
Like, for example, Dance Dance Revolution handles this really well. You can play Maniac mode right next to someone playing beginner mode.
And it doesn't matter.
Doesn't do anything. In fact, they feel like they're helping because if you start to fail, they keep you alive, hopefully.
They keep your quarter alive.
Yeah.
So you don't lose your money.
So it's partly an aspect of game design. If you're designing a game, you have to think a lot about what unsportsmanlike behaviors does the game allow?
And encourage
and
or discourage.
And do you care?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Counter-Strike, if you have a server and you turn on all talk, that is just ripe for lots of unsportsmanlike conduct. But at the same time, with the right crowd, if that's your goal, like these sort of semi-casual games, that can be super fun.
So in terms of recommendations as a game player, right, I recommend that you be sportsmanlike and not be a dickhead.
So, Scott, what is the definition of sportsmanship then? Are we using
you just
the
have to.
Merriam-Webster?
You just have to. If you're not a dick, then you have good judgment already, and you know.
Yep.
Right. So just use the good judgment that you have, because a lot of people have good judgment and aren't dicks, and intentionally decide not to obey their better judgment and
True.
and do dickish things.
But then there's that guy.
There's the people who don't have good judgment.
But there's also the people.
But there's no way to just tell them what good judgment is because it's subjective. You have to just know.
Yep.
You have to be a socially aware individual.
And that's pretty much all it comes down to, at least in everything but professional sports. And like we said, in professional sports, usually...
You can start by not biting your opponent. That's a good start.
Yeah, unless...
If you're not sure about what to do, start by not biting.
Well, don't bite. Don't tell them to go fuck themselves.
Well, I mean, that depends, right? It's like if I lose to someone, I could be like, "Oh, go fuck yourself." Right?
But there's the thing: if you're
but
the
then
kind
I
of...
could be like, maybe you should go fuck yourself. And if I say it in a funny way, that could be totally all right.
It can be, but if you're a person who doesn't already know if it can be all right,
don't do it.
Yeah, the rule is unless you know you can get away with it, don't do it.
If there's any uncertainty whatsoever, don't say or do whatever you were thinking or thinking about doing.
Yep.
You're opting to just not say or not do something is always safer than doing something. Unless it's saying good game, you could say good game. You can't get hurt doing that.
So here's a separate related question.
All right, thanks for playing, or,
This was relevant in like Quiz Bowl. It's relevant in a lot of video games.
Good luck. Good luck
of board
can't hurt.
games. So
Well played.
what about situations where there are things in the context of a game that are not in any sense either in the rules of the game or the rules of the tournament structure or the rules of the community, like the written rules of the community organization? They're in no way against the rules, but they are part of the widely accepted, unwritten social rules of the game. Like in a quiz...
You want to talk about the bowing in Star Wars? Is that what you want to talk about?
The bowing in Star Wars, or the things that would be considered cheating, except that they're not actually breaking any rules, like observing other teams and taking notes.
What's wrong?
Well, there are some games...
People do that all the time. What's
yes,
wrong
and
with
there
that?
are some games where the community greatly frowns upon that, but it's hard to have rules against it, so they don't have specific rules
in
against
Netrunner,
it.
there's a specific rule, no scouting.
Yep, what's the definition of scouting?
If the tournament judge thinks that you're going around looking at other people playing to figure out what's in their deck so that when you play them, you know what they got, then they can just kick you out.
Yeah. So would it be unethical to have a friend go to the place where you know the people who are going to be in the tournament in the weeks before the tournament, play and practice on their decks?
You can't. The only time you can't scout is during the tournament.
Yep. So would it be considered unsportsmanlike for you, just hypothetical, to have me go to Oklahoma or whatever for a month and join the Netrunner community there and hang out and play with these people and figure out what decks they're going to use in the tournament and then give you all that info?
People basically know whatever, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but I'm saying, so that's in no way unsportsmanlike?
No, not really.
All right. I'm just curious.
There might be a scandal if some, but no one cares.
Well, the other
Everyone
example
just publishes their freaking decks on the internet.
Is where we joined those Star Wars servers.
So it's Jedi Knight 2.
We played a lot of that game.
We played that game when it was brand new because, oh my God, it was pretty much Quake 3 mod, but everything was Star Wars, and it was FPS, but also lightsaber fighting.
And the lightsaber combat was actually pretty fun.
Yeah. So you'd play lightsaber duels against random people on the internet. And people had this thing where, but when the duel started, they would make their characters bow in game, like crouch and uncrouch, or look at the ground, and then look forward again. Right?
And whenever someone did that, I would force lightning them immediately, which they always said no force lightning, but I do it anyway. And then I just rush in and fucking cut them.
I would just immediately push as soon as they started to bow, I would time it and use the strongest powerful lightsaber attack that was really slow, and time it such that when their head was down, it hit and then decapitated them and it was over.
I would usually also, as soon as the lightsaber duel started, back up, pull out my blaster, and just start shooting them.
Yeah, that's also a good move.
Yeah, I got kicked from a lot of servers.
Yeah, people would kick because it's their server. They have a right to kick you if they want. But
yep. But eventually you find the server where the mod isn't there, and then you'd go nuts because that is in no way part of the rules of the game, only the rules of the community.
Yep.
Were we being unsportsmanlike?
No, I don't think so.
We were violating all the rules of the community to an extreme degree.
I don't feel bad about that. I would do it again.
I, in fact, not only do I not feel bad about it, but I'm kind of proud of it.
Yeah. I would do it the same way again.
I remember when one guy got so mad at me, he said, no force lightning, that he told me, and I quote, that's unethical.
Do you snake in Mario Kart?
I was the champion of snaking.
Okay, then it's the same thing.
I have the scars to prove it.
Okay, then we're done here.
But I remember when that guy said that, I said, and I quote, but I'm on the dark side, and I proceeded to follow him around the server for doing nothing but force lightning him to death until he eventually quit.
Nice role play.
Yeah, I wasn't griefing, I was role playing.
Mm-hmm.
I was Dark Sith. What do you want? This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.